and welcome back to Soulstar Radio. I'm Jacquelene Close-Moore, and what is that thing on my forehead? I'm wearing my crown. I might just take it off because we women don't actually have to wear our crown on the outside to wear our crown, and that's something I wanted to talk about briefly today, in amongst all of what I want to talk about. Now, often we do live readings on the show, but sometimes I have a bit of a chat with you, and that's sort of so that you can gain tools for your own self-development. Now, when we're dealing with working as psychics, we're really also dealing with, clearing ourselves out emotionally over time and really facing things in our life and being really honest with ourselves, because when we're working as psychics, we're working as a mirror. So if you sort of think of, the story of Snow White, which a good friend, Catherine from Heidi Rose Homeopathy, shared recently, was, the story of Snow White, and not the Disney version. We're not talking about the Disney version here. We're talking about how, in life, we're dealing with, sometimes people's pure side, as we might call it, so the Snow White aspect, and this reflective purity that's there that often people with less pure intentions, and we could say that the shadow side of ourselves, because when we think about what other people do to us and that happened to me, they did that to me, and it's like, yeah, but you allowed that. And that can be tough to hear, particularly if you've got a very interesting history of dealing with things where people do things to you. But it is about learning to gain clearer and clearer reflection over the course of your life. Because in order to reflect for other people in readings and healings and all the teaching that you might do, there is a need to also come to that clarity, about what am I really doing and what am I reflecting here. So it is about being able to be really honest with yourself in these sorts of situations and sort of go, okay, that's what I've learned. So, it's interesting when we have blind spots to our own behaviours and other people have their blind spots, and, that's just part of our learning and growth and coming to greater awareness. So when you sort of think about it, you can't really love or severely dislike, something in someone else without it being within you. In some way. So either how you're treating others, how you're treating yourself, your dialogue, your inner dialogue, how is that coming across? And part of being honest with yourself is also about clearing your energy, and it's also about cultivating clearer energy as you go. So when we sort of think of someone's aura, and we think of the chakras that I was talking about, a few episodes before, I was talking about the chakras and clearing your energy. It's also about, cultivating greater energy so that you are more positive in your space. And once again, you can hold space for other people. So, if you're doing things that numb your senses or having substances that numb your senses, and redirect your thinking or numb it or cause it to lose clarity, then you're not knowing how you're really feeling. And if you're not knowing how you're really feeling about your own stuff in your own life, how can you reflect for other people? So in wanting to be a better psychic, you need to actually work on being better within yourself. And so there can be periods in your life where you're going through clearing a lot of stuff. There are seasons in your life. There is definitely summer. There's spring, happy times, lots of abundance there. And there's autumn and winter. And so, the winter of the soul or the dark night of the soul, it's not just, winter. We sort of talk about, oh, wow, it's winter, I've got, the winter blues. Winter is also a period in our life which can happen many times, and hopefully not too many times in your life, because that can be pretty full on. But the winter of the soul is when we're having to go through that sort of the deeper, darker aspects of ourselves, which New Age people often are. Oh, no, I'm all light. Yeah, I've met a few of those people. One of them claimed to be God. He was not at all disowning his shadow, was he? And sort of we talk about going beyond the duality and holographic images and, yeah, wow, great, okay. But if you're still cutting people off in traffic and swearing at other drivers and, maybe being in some way not helpful, plain out not helpful to people, are you really still in this lack of duality thing that you've just talked about, And so when very religious people, get into their prayer stuff, that's fantastic, great, good on you, cultivating the energy there. But when you then say, I have to do your practices, or I say you have to do mine, and certainly when I'm showing you information about working as a psychic and all that sort of thing, it's for you to be able to go, all right, well, I resonate with that part. This part, not so. I'm going to work with the bits that, I find really hit the spot for me. So I'm going to run through a few of those today as well. But what I'm doing in doing that is sharing that with you. It's not, here's what you must do, to live your life well and not, burn into the fiery pits of hell or something. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's toasty and warm if there is a hell, which, I think really hell, if we think about it, is a state of mind. And some people torture themselves in that long before they ever leave this earth. And if we think about where you go after you pass over, there's this whole thing of you go to where your energy is vibrating at. So I guess you could say there is a realm of self-torture that people put themselves in, but that's a depletion of energy. We're talking about you being present. We're talking about you being honest with yourselves. We're talking about you clearing your energy so you can be of help to others. So once again, getting back to that, there's this real thing of, what actually increases your energy, what increases your presence, what increases your sense of well-being in order to be able to help others. Well, first of all, do you love yourself? Are you able to look in the mirror and maybe actually hug yourself and say, I love you? Or is that going to creep you out? When someone first showed me the hugging self, I actually did this thing. Defensive stuff. And so if you can actually practice loving yourself, particularly if you hate doing that, and there's that strong word again, but if you can actually practice that and say, you know what, I'm gonna get more comfortable with myself. For some people, it's handy to listen to their voice, so recording your voice on the phone, recording videos. Now, some people obviously love that a bit, maybe too much. We're going on the other extreme there. We were talking about spiritual pride a couple of weeks ago, and yeah, that's in that realm. But, if you have a extreme lack of self-worth, then we sort of talk about the law of attraction. If your self-worth is way down here, you're going to attract people who rather enjoy that. They're going to take advantage of that and just put you down there. And that can be friends, it can be work, it can be loved ones, it can be, partners, it could be anything. But, in a way you have to look at in a relationship, not the first 6 months of this person being fantastic, which is often the case. But, okay, once that's dropped away, and if they're starting to, and I get this a lot in readings, if they're starting to suddenly treat you badly, and you've put up with that for another year, 2 years, how long? And quite often they'll say, oh, but I know he can be good. And I'll say, yeah, but they're choosing not to. They're choosing not to. They're showing you who they can be if they want to, what their potential is, but they're choosing not to do. Okay. So once again, coming back to that building of the aura is to say to yourself, well, gee, I know they can be that. They're choosing not to. That doesn't mean I have to stay. And so that goes for not just love, that goes for friendship, that goes for work situations. Are you being valued as much as you're putting the energy in? And some people can have a very tilted view of their value. Some people sort of, blah, blah, blah. Are you being realistic in your perception of how people are treating you? Are you only looking at it from what you're getting out of it, or are you looking at it from what you can give everyone else, because both can be unbalanced? Or are you actually sitting back and going, well, I see this and I see that, and I've asked Bob about it, and Bob says it, this way, and you got to remember that Bob's got his own filter. That could be big goggles there. That could be really thick glasses. Might not be, but you don't know. So how clear is Bob? So you sort of get into this whole thing of which story am I listening back to? So we have to get back to that mirror. How do I feel? Do I feel comfortable? Do I feel I'm being honest with myself about my own effort, energy, and integrity on this? And can I just sit with that in myself without having to tell everyone about it, for example, and put up big social media posts about, protected species or something? If I'm particularly, poisoning those protected species, not sort of seeing the link there. That's one example. It's this irony we can get in what are we actually doing, and what are we saying, and do they match? So, look at yourself and say, well, is what I'm saying matching what I'm doing? If it's not, maybe I want to change that. Because if you're able to do that, you're able to reflect more clearly for people who are seeking answers from you. So if we think of that mirror and the evil witch, which is kind of an aspect of the psyche, and this is from the Clarissa Pinkola Estes stories of that, which, once again, thank you, Catherine from Heidi Rose Homeopathy, putting me onto that one. We think of that side, which is the part of you that chooses to be bitter rather than better. Oh, look at what she's got. I've got to stamp that out, or I've got to have that instead, or, no, not helpful. But she wants to be, mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all? And, of course, the mirror is pretty upset because, she does these really awful things to Snow White, doesn't she? But Snow White, in her purity, is also naive. So when you're sort of saying, when people do things to me, yeah, but were you listening to your instincts and the red flags and the signals that told you, and the hairs that stood up on your neck, and the comb that, someone bought and stuck in your head, and, the seven dwarfs saved you the first time, and the second time, then you're stuck in a glass coffin for a while, aren't you? How many times are you going to let people like that in? So, there's a book I'm reading at the moment, which I'm rather enjoying, and I'm just going to show that to you. It's by Christine Northrup, ND, just trying to get the right angle there. And it's called Dodging Energy Vampires. And this is a really good book for empaths, and a lot of you are. And it's actually called An Empath's Guide to Evading Relationships That Drain You and Restoring Your Health and Power. Sometimes people sort of say, oh, look at him, isn't he fantastic? Oh, look at his wife. Or two people working together, and, one looks really drained and exhausted and the other one looks fantastic, and people go, oh, why are you working with them? They look awful. Or they're only this and they're only that. And that may be the person who feels devalued, while the other person is riding high on that. And then if they sort of move apart, and it's amazing how with sort of narcissistic personalities particularly, they'll keep you up all night. They will worry you just before an event. It's all about the dramas. And if an empath is caught in that, once again, energy is depleting, they're tired, they're not thinking clearly, and it's just this unconsciousness that keep getting hammered into me about unconsciousness. And it's about that coming back to awareness of, well, how am I allowing myself to be treated today? What choices am I making in the people I'm allowing around me, and how does that make me feel? Because, there's this thing on the internet, you see it all the time, and it's got spiritual women are always attracting people who need healing. That's right, because we're healers and we attract that in our work life. It's what we do. We do healing. We do it through readings. We do it through, healing, through being a doctor, however it is. But that's a day job. You don't have to attract that everywhere in your life, in friendships and, other associations. It's about saying, all right, well, maybe spiritual women in their social life, in the community outside of ours, where they're hanging around with people and whatever, and maybe they don't need to take any more patients on. And that's another, you sometimes see that meme with the spiritual women are always attracting people who need healing, and you see that scrubbed out, the healing bit, and it's like, are not taking further patients. And it's like, well, yeah, maybe our first patient as healers does really need to be ourselves, because you've got to remember, with every strong woman, there's, this real sort of emphasis of that warrior side and then the rescuer side. And the rescuer is often the nurse, the Eve, the healer. She's there protecting and thinking of everybody else. But then there's this warrior side, and that Lilith's living there. Good on her. And so is Athena, but you've got to balance those two ladies. Pallas Athena particularly. And so part of you retaining your energy is, yes, to be compassionate, to work on your empathy, but also to work on your empathy for yourself first and foremost. So things that help you build your aura are meditation, movement, eating right, making sure you're getting enough rest, making sure that you are letting go of the past. That's a big thing. It's really important to let go of the past, owning your own power. And so we're seeing a lot of women across the US right now that I want to give a shout out to, giving a big, massive march around America. And that's because, women, for our bodies need to have rights. I've seen a meme recently on Facebook that has George Orwell saying, gee, I really picked that. And then underneath it, it's got a picture of Margaret Atwood saying, hold my beer. I think that pretty much sums it up. So it's about owning your own energy and owning your own life force. And when we think of life force, we're thinking of that red, that blood. And we're also thinking of the marriage between Shakti and Shiva. So we think of Shakti, the base chakra, Mother Earth, that red energy rising up. And we think of Shiva, that white energy, kind of like sitting on your head, coming down through your whole body. And the marriage of those two brings it into pink, which is often seen as unconditional love, isn't it? So really, it's about that ownership of self, ownership of your body, ownership of your well-being, and saying no, being able to say no, stand up and speak up, and to support other women, particularly in our society and Western society, and around the world. It's really important that women support each other, because until we have equality on earth of both genders, I firmly believe that we're out of balance. And when I say we're out of balance, I'm talking about not just individually, but as a cosmic soul, as an earth energy, the planetary energy here. We sort of think of the climate and we think of people running around. I think facts are really important. I think science is incredibly important. And I know that I'm working in this sort of spiritual sign, but when we're looking at ownership of truth, facts, science, very important. And science does not have to be in isolation to spiritual. The two do actually blend well, when your thinking is clear. So coming back to that mirroring and mirroring out into society, we can feel the things that are going on out there and, really feel the heaviness and want to tune out. But that tuning out is a numbing. So things that help reduce the aura. So that denial, apathy, complacency in society, not wanting to know facts, holding on to anger, hatred, all these past things, and actually having a really strong dislike, hatred, towards someone and just thinking about it. You're attracting that energy, and it's coming actually from the conflict in you, really, if you think about it, because once again, you can't dislike that person and what they're about unless you're disliking, something about you, you're not wanting to own. So it may be how you're treating others, could be how you're treating yourself, and I'm repeating that for a purpose. So if we go into that cycle, our energy starts winding down. If we allow other people to oppress us as human beings and women, the energy is starting to wind down. The more we release attachment, release fear, then the more our energy opens up. But if we go into denial and we go into numbing, that's a thing that can really, start to make it hard to sense things clearly. So the more you reflect on your own life and become clear, the more clear you can reflect into others, and the more you'll find it hilarious when if someone else is trying to read you, usually they'll volunteer that, they'll start reading everything about themselves to you instead of reading you. And the same can happen when people meet you. They can think you're like them because then they're seeing their own reflection and not realising that. And that can happen a lot with empathic people because we can be porous and sponge-like, but we can also be very reflective. And, so when an empath is not got control on their energy, what can happen is someone reflects some really, aggro, and then it comes back. Woo! And so what starts to happen, you got the ping pong, boom, 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 boom. The match has started. We're starting to whack each other, and no one's happy, are they? Maybe they came for healing. Maybe they came to give us an opportunity to wake up. But, maybe it's also about us not actually getting into the game. And so when you think of psychic attack particularly, which is a big, big ugly subject, I'm feeling psychic attacked, that does happen. The actual cases where someone is like possessed or being attacked by someone is a lot rarer than people think. Like when I meet them and they, this is happening to me, they've done the evil eye, and I'm like, no, you actually annoyed the hell out of them with this particular behaviour here, and they've gotten their nose out of joint and they've thought about you and they've kept thinking about you, but they've not actually gone, booga, 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 I'm going to, here we go. But some people's, angry feelings can be pretty intense, can't they, frankly. And so it's really about going, have I done something that actually, entered into this thing where my energy is depleting, their energy depleting, my energy right? That thing about energy depleting, or, can I pull back from that and, yes, take energies to protect self, but not sit there going, they're attacking me, I am good and they are evil. Because, no, you annoyed them, stuff happened, didn't work out, you annoyed them. They're thinking angry thoughts, you're feeling it, okay. So maybe what we need to do is own our own behaviour, not sit there thinking about how that makes them the bad person. Yeah, that's a big one, really big. And just go, thank you for, in a way, thank you for bringing this to me, for me to look at and go, there it goes, wiping it down, there it goes, bye-bye. Letting that go, and then just, okay, where am I? So focusing back on where you are and getting back to you, because we can always go back into those old stories, can't we? And it's like, it's like people can get obsessed and not realise they're obsessed about this thing that happened. And then they repeat that obsession with different people, not realising that's what's happened. And the other day I actually tracked back for a client. I was able to psychically pick up on, so you're actually obsessed about this particular issue, and that triggers back to this particular year when you were particularly obsessed about, and I said what it was, and she goes, oh my God, yeah. And I go, right. And then we go back to this obsession in this year, and can you tell me more about that? Yep, great, writing it down. Okay, going back to that year, and what was going on there, because you were getting really obsessed about, and we actually tracked it back to the same issue, just repeated in different ways throughout time. And that's holding your energy back, So when you're sort of looking at how do I build my energy, my clarity to read for people better or to feel better within myself and not get overwhelmed by other people's energies all the time, track back to what's this really about? And this is where journaling is important. I've always talked about journaling being important for, your psychic development. So what did I pick up today, writing it down, so we're asking for visions, writing them down that can be confirmed within 7 days. That's the sort of thing we're going for, leaving the right-hand side of the page blank until it happens, and then writing down the entry on the date and what actually happened, how that correlates. That's one part. But another part of journaling is really, well, how did I feel today? What did I do today? Is there anything that I maybe, am not proud of, can learn from? Maybe need to let go of? All right, well, we're going to try that too. And maybe also if you've just gotten into a rut where you're like angry with everybody, maybe a thing to help with that is to actually say, all right, got a bit of a tude going on at the moment, bit of an attitude. And there's a wonderful track at the moment. I'm sort of, engrossed in on YouTube, and it's actually I've got in the background here accidentally. It's actually Tina Turner. I love this, and she's chanting the Lotus Sutra, and that's about purity of mind. So if you go and Google that, Tina Turner Lotus Sutra, you'll get onto that. It's actually quite beautiful because if you think of the purity of the lotus flower, and we think of this duality business and owning the energy and reflecting, you think of the lotus flower, and it is a symbol of purity. It's also a symbol of the crown chakra and that connected to all that is, yeah? So if we think of what the lotus flower grows in, and, I'll sometimes ask people that, and I'm like, can't wait, can't stand, it's going to be funny. Once again, self-reflection. But so I'll say, it grows in a pond, and I go, yeah, but what kind of pond? And they go, well, it's a pond. I go, yeah, well, it's murky. And yet the lotus is a symbol of purity, and the lotus, by the way, is the only flower that sends its seed and its flower forth at the same time. So there goes the energy. But it's actually growing in murky water, and it doesn't complain about it. What it does is go, and it doesn't say, ooh, get rid of that murk out of here. It owns both sides. So owning your shadow is important. It will help you develop clearer skills, work on releasing stuff, letting go, loving self, not accepting bad behavior in you or others, and that's going to help you get a long way. And I think also understanding how other people are feeling, not just, the person next to you, but how is society traveling at the moment? How is the world traveling? And don't try to numb down from that. Yes, you do need to retract from it, but sometimes it's important to also take note. What is the energy going on at the moment? So the more you learn about that, the better. That's been today's discussion on how to increase your energy. So let it flow and let it go. Listen to Tina Turner stuff. Do some meditation. Can be moving, can be sitting, can be on a candle flame, could be on a Vegemite jar. If you're in Australia, that is. Anyway, catch you next week. We're going to do more, and I'll get back to the readings very soon. In the meantime, I'm going to love you and leave you. Bye.